Hey everybody, this is Joe and welcome to another video on my series on the very basics of Python. And we've been looking at outputting information to a screen, and then in the previous video we've been looking at creating a new line using the new line feature and using the tab space feature using the \t, and for the new line the \n. In today's video we're going to now start to focus on variables, and I'm going to explain to you how they work. So let's say I want to declare a variable. Let's say that's someone's name. I'm going to say name. I use a single equal sign, and I use the quotes, and I'm going to say, for example, Jimmy. Let's give him a capital. So let's say Jimmy. So that's how you declare a variable. We could also use numbers. So I could say, for example, num, and I could say equals I don't know, 7 or 6 or whatever it is, something like that. Or I can say, let's just stick with Jimmy. Let's say how old is Jimmy? Let's say he's, I don't know, 21 or whatever. I can use something like that. So I could use string, which is from previously I explained to you. String is any characters that are in between quotation marks is known as string. So in this case, Jimmy is a string because the words Jimmy is in between two quotation marks. The 21 that we have here, that's a number. There's no quotation marks, and this is known as an integer. An integer is a whole number, positive or negative, no decimal places, no comma, nothing like that. It's just a whole number. It's called an integer. So that's two data types. You've got the string data type and you have the integer data type. And you declare a variable by giving it some sort of a name. And then you have a single equal sign, and then there's some sort of a value that you're going to assign to it. So I just want to explain that slightly better. So let me just bring my other screen across. I'll just move this in here, and then you can see this. So let me explain it here. So I'm just going to use blue. I'm going to say, for example, oops, I need to be on that one. I'm going to say age equals 21. So there I've just declared a variable. And how does that now work? And this is the bit you need to understand. When you declare a variable, you have a name. For example, age, number, name, whatever. You've got some sort of a name. And then you have a single equal sign. And then you have some sort of a value. Some sort of a value. So let me just undo those three. And what it does, how does a variable work, is when you have a value, for example 21, that you assigned to a name or an identifier that is stored in memory. This is your computer memory, also known as RAM or random access memory. What does that mean? As soon as you stop your program, this information over here will be lost. If you switch off your computer, all information is lost. So it's just a temporary storage of information. So let me just undo some of that so I can get back to where I was with this, and there we go. And so a variable, I'll just explain this again. I think this is very important to understand. A variable, we declare a variable, that is when you have a value that is assigned using a single equal sign, assigned to a name or identifier that is stored in memory, in computer memory, known as RAM. So every single time that you have anything, for example, if you have name, oops, that doesn't look good. If you have name equals Jimmy, it's exactly the same. You have a value that is stored in a name or identifier. Oh, I've got to put an E there. And that is stored in memory. That's how it works. They always work the same. So it's temporary storage. What you have here, let me just get back to, I'll just use green. So what you have here is temporary storage of a value. This is temporary storage of some sort of a value. So that's just important to understand. I'm going to move that out of the way now, and I'll minimize that on my other screen so you can see what we have here. So I hope you understand that. So Jimmy is in temporary memory and the 21 is in temporary memory in RAN, but it's stored in the name or age. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So let's go ahead and use this is information that we hard coded. So we're going to, I just want to move my tablet out of the way. I'll just disconnect that and just move it out of the way, and then I can continue with this. There we go. Cool. So let's use our print function again. So we're going to say print. We open our brackets. I've already, I'm in the habit of putting a double quote. I actually don't need, I may need that. So let's say we want to say Jimmy, you're 21 years old or something like that. So we could say name, and I'll show you what happens there. So instead of us actually typing Jimmy, because we know that Jimmy is stored in the identifier called name, we now only have to call the name variable, and that would give us that value. So let's see if that works. I'm going to do F5 enter, and you can see there it says Jimmy. All good, all good. So that is quite cool. That is quite cool. And if I do name and I say comma and I put age, then theoretically it should say Jimmy 21. So let's go F5 and enter, and that says Jimmy 21. You could have it the other way around as well. You could have it just like that. Let me just go and take that out of the way. F5 enter, 21 Jimmy. So it's quite cool. So when you are doing this, let me just show you again that you do not have to call any of these values. It just grabs it from there, and you call it over here. Let me clear that, get out of that one. But that's not what we want. Let's do this properly now. So we want to say Jimmy, comma, I can combine it with string. Actually, well, I don't need the space, I'm just doing it for a purpose. Jimmy, you are, and then I'm going to say age, and then years old. Years old. Let's see if that works. If I enter, Jimmy, you are 21 years old. Perfect. Don't know why this came up. Let me just click there. Right, Jimmy, you are 21 years old. Perfect. So you can see where we got our information from is we've got the name variable that gave us Jimmy, we've got the age variable that gave us the 21, and then I'll just change this to blue, we hard-coded using string, we hard-coded those ones. And just a quick shout out, I hope you guys recognize the fact that I used a single quote together with double quotes over there. So let me just get rid of that, and I'll do this. So there we go. So this is quite a neat way of combining information where you have your you've got your variables. Ooh, my days. Let's try that again. You've got your variable name, your variable age, and you've combined it with string. I'll just do that, and I'll do that. You've combined it with string using a comma separation. A comma separation. Let me just clear that. You can hopefully see that I've used commas there and commas there. It doesn't always work like this. I'll show you in the future how that works, but in this case we just need to know comma separated, and that should work for that. So that is variables that only have for example string or integer. So we have string again. Ooh, I don't like that. I want to use my rectangular tool. We've got string, and we have integer. String and integer. Okay, cool. Are we clear that? Right. So what do we do with that? Now that we have that, what does that actually mean? So let's go ahead. I'm just going to comment this out. I might use it later, but I'm going to use Alt3 to comment it out. And then I want to look at maths operators. Maths operators. So let's declare two variables. One is called num1. Num1 equals, let's say 21, doesn't really matter. Num2 equals, let's say 15. Again, it doesn't really matter. I'm using two arbitrary ones. So I've declared a variable. Both are integers because they're whole numbers. num1 is 21, num2 is 15. And what can we do with that? What can we do with that? So we could say, if we use the print function, print, open brackets, we could say num1, and then we could use the normal math operator, num2, a plus, and then a num2. So if we run this, now, that should give us the whatever the value is if we add those two together, num1 plus num2, and that should give us 36 if my maths is correct. I'll escape out of that one, and I'll say F5, enter, and you can see it says 36. So that's one way that you can use it. I personally am not very fond of that. I would like to have something called answer, and I want to do my maths beforehand, num1 plus num2, and then inside my print function I'll just put in ans for answer, and then when I say F5 enter, it still says 36, exactly the same, but I did my maths over there. I stored that value in a variable called ans for answer, and then I printed that out. I outputted the answer. And I just want to show you some more. So I could also go copy, paste, and I could change this one to a minus. It should do exactly the same thing. F5 enter, and you should see 36 and 6. Why is it 6? 21 take away 15 is 6. And again, we can go further. We can do a multiply. A multiplication is a little asterisk for a start, a shift and 8, and F5 enter. That should give us, well, it's 315, which is obviously correct. And then you could also do the division, which is going to be a forward slash, or F5 enter, and you see it's 1.4. So 21 divided by 15, 15 goes into 21 once, and eventually it's 1.4. So this is just the things that I want to show you in the basic maths operators. There's actually a few things to unpick here. First of all, you already realize that we're using the value that is stored in num1. I keep on forgetting, sorry. The value is stored in num1, and the value that is stored in num2 are added together using this little operator called the plus sign. We can also subtract those two. We can also multiply those two. You can also divide those two to figure out how it works. The other thing I wanted to show you is that how we have a variable called ans for answer, where we call the answer there, but then you can see over here, I'll just do that one in red, over here we have a new mathematical operation that's going on, and that answer is stored in ans, which is exactly the same as before, the same as these two, exactly the same, but we overwrite it because we're using the same variable. It overwrites the previous answer, and then the same thing happens with this one. It overwrites the ans variable, and that one overwrites the ans variable. It's probably not good practice to do that. You probably want to create different variable names for each one of those, but this was just for explanatory purposes, just so you can see how these things work. A final thing I just want to say in this case is that let me just clear the screen. I've got Jimmy at the top there. Actually, let's comment this out, Alt and 3, and I'm going to just take this one out. Name is Jimmy, and I'm going to say surname is Jones. And we can also do mathematical operations. I'll just say full name. I just want to use that. Full name equals name plus surname. I just want to show you what that does when you do that. This is something that is called, it obviously can't calculate that because it's just string, but what happens, it joins, nothing, I didn't ever printed it. Right, let me print, is that surname? Full name. Let me F5 enter, and that should give us Jimmy Jones. So in this case, in a mathematical operation, when you're doing a mathematical using a mathematical operator, like for example here, it adds the two integers together. That's normal maths. But when it's doing string, when it's in quotes, it doesn't add them together because there's no maths. It doesn't make sense. It just joins them together. And as you can see, when if I've entered, it says Jimmy Jones. It just joined the Jimmy and the Jones together, which are the values that you have over there. So if you wanted to have something else, so for example, let me see what happens if I do. By the way, the little plus sign when it's string is called concatenation. To concatenate means to join, and preferably I wanted a space in between, so I can just join it all together, doing as follows. I could have the name with a plus sign, then a little oh, that's not going to help either because I do need a space. So but anyway, the two plus signs are called concatenation or joining. I just want to put a little space there. Now when I run it, it's going to have a nice Jimmy space Jones, the way you want to see it, which is quite cool. So let me I'll just change that to red, so you can see there. That's quite nice. That is quite nice. So let's close that. So that is called concatenation. It's quite a big word, concatenation, but that's when you're using a little plus sign for strings, joining strings. So you can see what I've done there. I did name plus, and then I put a empty space plus surname, is what I've done, and then I printed the value of the variable full name. So this was, I guess, quite a lengthy video, but I just wanted to make sure I got all those in terms of the basics of variables. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video, and goodbye.